Detective Oliver and the Missing Yawn. In the peaceful village of Bunnybarrow, everyone was getting ready for bed. The bakery lights were turning off. The flowers were closing their petals. The crickets were beginning their nightly songs. And a silver moon glowed softly above the rolling hills. Detective Oliver Rabbit sat in his little cottage beside the window. His detective hat rested neatly on a hook. His magnifying glass sat on the table. A warm cup of chamomile tea steamed gently beside him. Everything seemed perfectly peaceful. Almost. Because Oliver had a very unusual problem. He wasn't sleepy, not even a little bit. He stretched, he yawned, or at least he tried to. But no yawn came. Oliver said. He checked his pocket watch. Bedtime had certainly arrived. The moon was high. The stars were shining. The whole village looked sleepy. Yet somehow, his yawn was missing. Oliver adjusted his tiny glasses. A mystery, he whispered. A very small mystery. And so Detective Oliver opened a fresh page in his notebook. Case number 27, The Missing Yawn. He packed his notebook. He packed his pencil. Then he quietly stepped outside. The night air felt cool and pleasant. Bunnybarrow was wrapped in moonlight. The first place Oliver visited was the bakery. Inside, Baker Benny Bunny was stacking trays of fresh bread for the morning. "Good evening, Benny," said Oliver. Benny smiled sleepily. "Evening, Detective." Oliver opened his notebook. "Have you seen my missing yawn?" Benny chuckled softly. "No, but I had 3 yawns while baking tonight." 3? Very large ones. Oliver carefully wrote, "Baker Benny has extra yawns. Interesting, very interesting." Next, Oliver visited the village pond. The water reflected the moon like polished silver. There he found Millie Mouse floating on a tiny leaf boat. She looked extremely sleepy. "Good evening, Millie." Millie blinked slowly. "Oh, hello, Oliver." Oliver showed her the notebook. "My yawn has disappeared." Millie thought for a moment. "I've had 7 yawns tonight." 7? She yawned immediately after saying it. A very long yawn. Oliver wrote, "Millie has many yawns. Curious, very curious." He continued through Bunnybarrow. Everywhere he went, animals seemed sleepy. The hedgehogs were sleepy. The squirrels were sleepy. The ducks were sleepy. Even the usually energetic twins, Toby and Tilly Chipmunk, looked ready for bed. Everyone had yawns. except Oliver. The detective sat beneath an old willow tree and thought. The leaves swayed softly overhead. The breeze whispered through the branches. The stars twinkled, but no answer arrived. Then a tiny voice spoke. Looking for something? Oliver looked down. A little firefly hovered beside him. Its light glowed like a tiny lantern. "I'm looking for my missing yawn," Oliver explained. The firefly nodded. "I may have seen it." Oliver's ears perked up. "You have!" The firefly floated upward. "Follow me." Slowly, very slowly. The firefly drifted through Bunnybarrow. Oliver followed, past sleeping gardens, past quiet cottages, past moonlit fields. Eventually, they reached the tallest hill in the village. At the very top sat something unusual, a cloud. Not in the sky, on the hill. A fluffy silver cloud no bigger than a wagon. Oliver blinked. The cloud looked extremely comfortable. The firefly pointed. "There." Oliver stepped closer. Then he gasped. Scattered across the cloud were dozens of yawns. Little glowing yawns, tiny silver puffs. Some were round, some were curly, some floated lazily above the cloud like bubbles. Oliver stared. "What is this place?" The firefly smiled. "The Yawn Meadow." "The what?" "Every evening, extra yawns gather here before bedtime." Oliver sat beside the cloud. One of the silver yawns floated lazily past his nose. Another drifted above his ears. A third slowly spiraled through the air. Everything moved very gently, very quietly, very slowly. The kind of slowly that makes your eyes feel heavy. The firefly settled onto a blade of grass. When animals don't use all their yawns, the extras drift here. Oliver watched the floating silver puffs. The meadow felt peaceful. The hill felt peaceful. The moon felt peaceful. Even the stars seemed sleepy. Without realizing it, Oliver took a long, deep breath. Then another. Then another. His shoulders relaxed. His ears drooped slightly. His eyes blinked more slowly, and suddenly, one of the silver yawns drifted toward him. It landed softly on the tip of his nose. Oliver blinked. Once, twice. Then, yawn. The biggest yawn in Bunnybarrow. A magnificent yawn. A champion yawn. A yawn so large that nearby flowers gently wobbled. The firefly giggled. There it is. Oliver smiled. At last, his missing yawn had been found. The detective closed his notebook. Case number 2 was solved, but he didn't rush home. Instead, he sat quietly on the hill. The silver yawns floated above the meadow. The breeze moved through the grass. The moon painted everything in soft silver light. One by one, the fireflies dimmed their lanterns. One by one, the stars seemed to soften, and one by one, the sounds of Bunnybarrow grew quieter. Soon, Oliver felt sleepier than ever. He thanked the little firefly, then slowly made his way home. Back through the sleeping village, past the quiet pond, past the bakery, past the willow tree, until he reached his cozy cottage. Inside, everything was exactly as he had left it. The warm blanket, the soft pillow, the cup of tea. Oliver hung up his detective hat, placed his notebook on the shelf, and climbed into bed. As he snuggled beneath the blanket, he looked out the window one last time. Far away on the hill, he thought he could still see the silver cloud and tiny glowing yawns floating lazily into the night sky. Oliver smiled, closed his eyes, and before long, the detective of Bunnybarrow drifted into the gentlest, coziest sleep of all.